Welcome back. Joining us right here on the show, Sean Fazende, WVUE TV, Fox 8. Sean, I can't believe that you were the first person to put out a Saints mock draft already. I mean, we are slipping here at NOLA.com in the Times-Picayune. Usually we might have had 4 up. Fletcher Mackel might have had 7 of them up. How are you the first one to market? What's up with that?
That's unbelievable. And you guys are slipping. What's going on with that, man? It's like the fun part of the year. It's mock draft season. Well, we all become experts and know what the Saints are thinking.
Well, we decided, to scale it back since we actually had more season than normal we're used to covering, and then we actually covered the Pro Bowl and all this stuff, so a little bit more work than normal. So I think that's why we're scaling it back. Once the Combine's over, that's when we become full experts and we know everything, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I do 3, February, March, and April. So I'll do my post-free agency, post-combine one, and then one leading up to the draft. So I try to get 3 a year, February, March, and April.
Well, Sean, tell everybody what your selection was, because everybody always focuses on the first round. What was your pick, and give us the reasoning behind that selection?
Yeah, I went back and forth. I had a couple linebackers there. I had a cornerback there, but I originally went back to my original selection, a guy I caught wind of, I guess, really early in January when I started doing the kind of the breakdown. It's South Dakota State's tight end, Dallas Goedert or Goedert. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce his last name, but I just feel like pass-catching tight end is one of the positions on this roster right now where a rookie can truly come in and make an impact right away. And I think when you watch his highlights, it's Jimmy Graham. That's the first comparison jumped right off, pretty much right away. His athleticism is that good. He's got great leaping ability. His route running is probably a little more refined and defined now, a little more than say Jimmy Graham's was at this stage of his career, given his basketball background. But not much of a blocker, but and a guy that plays a lot of slot, runs a lot of seams, can break down can really break down defenses inside the red zone. I know the competition is one thing, but if he blows it up at the Combine, it wouldn't shock me at all if he's not even available to the Saints at 27. But I just feel like a pass-catching tight end at 27 really could make an impact, and I just like the pick all the way around.
92 receptions, 1,293 yards, and 11 touchdowns. That would certainly make me notice him. But I feel like that's going to be a popular pick. Maybe Sean Andrews from Oklahoma. That's going to be a pick. But I feel like I'm not sure. We got to see what the Saints feel about these tight ends, because when you're at 27, you're basically at the mercy of the draft. You got to figure out which players are available, because even though there's a hole, you don't want to reach for a guy. And it's almost like what the Saints had to do at 32 last year, best player available. So as much as this kid may be someone that the Saints look at, I'm sure, and Sean, I'm sure you agree with this, that the Saints have to go on this spot as the best player available.
Yeah, and look, none of us will never criticize the best player approach ever again, given what happened with Ryan Ramczyk last year. Wasn't an immediate need. All of a sudden, he plays every single snap as a rookie. And to think they almost signed or drafted Reuben Foster in that spot just goes to show you sometimes you luck out, like Garland Gillen pointed out in his blog today, and sometimes it falls to you, and that's what you have to go with. So I think highest grade / best player is always the approach, in particular when you're talking about the back end of the first round, which is where the Saints find themselves this year.
Sean, where do you see this team going into the start of free agency? This is the player procurement phase of the offseason starting in March. What do you think are the top priorities for them, not just position-wise but personnel-wise? What do they have to address initially in the early stages of free agency?
Well, first off, you hope it doesn't get to free agency. That's obviously Drew Brees' contract, and I think we all agree that's priority number one. I know Rappaport reported that they'll begin or start discussing both sides this week or next week at the Combine. But I look at pass rusher. I think what they do with Alex Okafor is very interesting, just because he's coming off that Achilles tear. I thought he played well last year. I thought he rolled the dice, bet on himself, and I thought it was working out. Especially towards right before he got injured, I thought he was playing really well as a compliment to Cam Jordan. Even when he wasn't getting sacks, he was putting pretty consistent pressure. So I liked the signing there, and yeah, I think he was poised for a pretty big contract until obviously he tears the Achilles, and so who knows? Because who knows when he's going to be available and what kind of money does that command? He may end up having to sign another 1-year deal, honestly, just given his status right now. I think you could add a linebacker, whether it be a Mike or a Will. I think you could add some athleticism there, given the injuries that they had as well. And on the opposite side, I said pass-catching tight end, but also slot receiver. Even if you bring back Willie Snead, I don't think it's a terrible idea to address that position, just because that position has become so popular in the NFL, and you got to have a guy that can move the sticks. And Willie Snead did that in 15 and 16, and then last year, obviously, he kind of fell off. So that's interesting as well. And then if you're going to address cornerback, it's got to be a specific style, at least in my mind. I think you go nickel corner, especially given what's happening with Kenny Vaccaro. You don't know if he's coming back. I know that the feel is that he's probably going to test the mark and get paid elsewhere. But I think you want to add some versatility to, do you want to go heavy nickel always, or do you want to go your traditional nickel with a third cornerback? I think if you're the Saints, you want to give yourself some flexibility there. So those would be the needs I think the Saints could certainly address, whether it be free agency or the draft.
Sean Fazende, WVUE TV, Fox 8, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. And Sean, I'm going to be writing about this this weekend. I think the restricted free agents on the Saints are more intriguing and present more of I don't want to say a mystery, but you've got Willie Snead, you've got Brandon Coleman, and you've got Delvin Breaux as restricted free agents. I know David Perry's one, but we're not going to bring him in this conversation. But I'm just curious to see how the Saints handle this situation with these guys because they're notable names and their stocks have gone up and down the last couple of years. And I know you've written about them at y'all's website. And I'm curious, just your thoughts overall on those three players specifically.
Yeah, it's interesting because in Coleman's case, you kind of feel like a guy that has improved a little bit each year, but you just wonder what his ceiling is. And I know he's a great blocker and he's a great guy in the locker room, so he's an interesting scenario. Snead's case, it's like, the biggest thing with Snead, if there was an explanation for the drop-off, then I think it could be a little more, it'd be a little more understandable, but he just fell off the map, and the offense has kind of moved on without him. And up until the fourth down catch against Minnesota, he really didn't do much. He had 9 catches in the season, but what he has shown, 15 and 16, similar to Delvin Breaux, when I thought he was the Saints' best corner in 2015, but back-to-back injuries in 16 and 17 obviously robbed him of some more playing time. I think if it were me, I just think it's low risk to tender these guys. A 1-year original round compensation tender, was it probably $1.8, $1.9 million? To me, that's low risk, and the potential reward could be great, especially, let's say, in Delvin Breaux's case, if he returns to form and is able to be that shutdown corner that he was knocking on our door to being back in 2015. To have Breaux at that level and Marshawn Lattimore, that's a pretty dynamic duo at cornerback. In Willie Snead's case, obviously he's shown it. I do think, though, you could probably find a slot receiver maybe a little bit easier than you can a true number 1 or number 2 cornerback. So I think if you're ranking them, I'd probably put Breaux and then Snead in that regard. But still, another low risk to tender them at 1 year, 1.8, 1.9. If they don't make the team, so be it. But if they do and they're on the roster, there's at least that glimmer of hope that they can return to the player that they once were. I just think from a risky standpoint, they're restricted, and it doesn't cost you a whole lot. To me, I'd probably tender both of those guys.
Sean, you mentioned earlier the situation with Alex Okafor at defensive end, and I think that's their biggest priority. And if you had to have one glaring hole, it's probably that position, strictly because we don't know what Okafor's, if he's even going to resign, and what he would be like once he does come back. I think the issue I've got is, and probably the Saints are going to have, is very, very few elite pass rushers make it to the free agent market. They're so prized. And this isn't a great draft either for elite edge rushers. The elite ones are probably going to go long before the Saints get to select in the first round. So what do they do? How do they address that position? It's almost like what happened last year, where all the top pass rushers were gone before they had a chance at the end of the first round. I'm not sure which direction they go.
Yeah, especially since they're going to probably stay true to their board, and depending on how they grade those prospects, it's early, but at least what I've gathered is at 27, it's probably not the most fortunate spot to be for a pass rusher. And in regards to free agency, those guys rarely hit the market. I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence is not hitting the market. I saw was it Trent Murphy? It may be available. I suppose that's a guy you can maybe consider. If that is indeed the case, and you're kind of dried up in the free agent market, and you're not going to be in a fortunate spot to draft one, you may be forced to bring back a guy like Okafor and just roll the dice and see how he is. The one thing I did not like, the one coaching move I really didn't like last year was the Sheldon Rankins experiment on the end. I don't know how you guys feel film study wise. What I saw, it didn't. To me, that didn't work. So you have to obviously address that position. Can Trey Henderson develop? Sure. Is he going to be a premier guy? Who knows? Al-Qadim Mohammed certainly showed flashes in preseason, but can he develop, into a true pass rusher? We'll see. You just hope one of these guys, maybe in the mid rounds, could fall to you and you're able to draft one. But I think that's truly a mystery in terms of what you do there, just because what you have potentially coming back versus what could be available, you may fall short in all categories. So you may be forced to do something you don't necessarily want to do, but you probably have to do just to add another body there.
Sean, yeah, you were mentioning Sheldon Rankins on the edge. I saw him playing that position in watching some game footage when he was at Louisville, but they were at a point where they were down so many bodies, they just had to do that in base situations. I don't think they're going to return to that at all. That is not an optimal thing. I think they were just stuck in a corner, and they had to do that to at least get some bigger bodies in there and running situations. So yeah, I'm with you. That was an experiment only because Hendrickson was hurt, Kikaha went out, Okafor got hurt, all these people got hurt. So I don't think we're going to see that again.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, he's going to be a great 4-3-3 technique defensive tackle that can get upfield and with short area quickness. So I think that's where he belongs, and I'm with you guys. That's where he's going to be the rest of his career with the Saints.
Sean Fazende, WVUE TV, Fox 8. Sean, what you guys got coming up? I know I'm going to be on Final Play this weekend. Is that
right?
Sounds
if I remember
cemented.
correctly, I think I got to come over there Sunday, and we're going to talk NFL Combine. Am I with you or am I with Juan?
I think you're going to be with Mr. Kincaid.
All right.
So you guys will talk a little Combine. Was it Final Play 10:30 Sunday? We'll be live at the Pelicans tonight as well at 4 and 5. So I'll be there. I got to broaden my horizons a little bit. I'm a football purist, but every now and then I like to mix in some basketball. And I also have another story airing on the Final Play. It's NOLA's newest professional team. So that'll air Sunday night at 10:30 as well.
All right. That's
Very
Sean
cool.
Fazende, WVUE TV, Fox 8. Of course, does a great job. And, Sean, appreciate you jumping on the show as always, buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You got it. Right. That's Sean Fazende.
I'm hoping it's soccer.
I already know what it is. Should I give away the teas or no?
No,
Sure.
yeah, sure,
Sean's
yeah.
not on there anymore.
Yeah, he's not there anymore. He's not. You're not
What is
going
it?
to
I'm
this and put
curious.
it. Yeah.
What?
Rugby.
What?
I saw this.
Rugby.
We have
I
rugby?
saw this in City Park driving home 3 days ago.
Dave, what are they called?
The Rugby Gold.
The Rugby
The
Gold.
New Orleans Gold.
I
Nice.
Professional?
They
Yeah,
get
they
paid?
just
I don't
started-
know.
Yeah, no, there's a small league. I think there's about like 8 teams. They got one in Houston. I emailed them a couple days ago, actually, setting up some interviews this weekend, actually, with them.
You going to play? You playing? What's going on here?
No, I just odd story. Josh Ennis, our morning show guy, I could hear him over in Houston cutting some commercials, and he was cutting a commercial for the Houston team. I'm like rugby? What the hell? So I looked it up, NOLA.com, and shot them an email.
And guess what, Jeff? They saw a video of you kicking a bigger ball,
A rugby
bigger
ball.
than,
They're not gonna call
than
you.
football. And
They're not
I
gonna
don't
call
think
you.
they're calling. I'm
No.
with Claude. They're
We
not
need to
calling you,
repost
dude.
that
Not calling.
on the New Orleans Saints page. And
No, because DeMarco rips me in the middle of the video.
An incredible
What's up with
kick.
that?
I soared that ball over Thomas Morstead's uncle's head.
Wouldn't have taken much.
The hang time was
Just saying.
incredible. It was incredible.
Still waiting for Aussie rules.
And there was also, it might be noted, it was thick humidity. We're up in the English countryside. It might have gone 20 or 30 yards further if it was lighter.
I'm hearing his excuses.
Yeah, sure. Jack.
And if you were in Denver, it might have went over that there mountain if you
might have
kicked it.
Jack and the Beanstalk
Like
might have,
Uncle
might have
Rico
fielded it.
flinging a football over that there mountain. So why don't we take
It is cool, though, that rugby is a town. Rugby's a cool sport. I'm trying to actually get tickets to see England and Ireland. I'm going to London.
Yeah, Six Nations.
Yes.
Six Nations.
St. Patrick's Day weekend, they are playing. And I'm going to be there. And the tickets have long been sold out, but that's going to be epic. So I'm looking forward to trying to finagle my way into that.
Nice.
All right, let's take one final break right here on the show, and we've been teasing it all show. Let's hear from Anthony Davis. Look, Pelicans, as Sean just said, he's covering it. Jeff, you going to be there tonight as well?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll be in the house.
Jeff will be at the Smoothie King Center. Pelicans hosting the Miami Heat, first game back from the All-Star break. And Anthony Davis talking about his future. Won't be the last time he's asked, but interesting conversation. Our own Will Guillory kind of pushing the buttons after an interview he did with Rachel Nichols on The Jump on ESPN, so kind of piggybacking off of that. So we'll hear his answer about his future, and we'll give a little breakdown of what's left for the Pelicans. Right now, they're a game above the Clippers in the 8th spot in the West, and the Warriors did the Pelicans some favors. Last night, they beat the Clippers in the first games back from the All-Star break. So we'll talk Pelicans. Final segment coming up. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc Holder.
So somebody reported about Canizaro? Is it out?
I saw it, yeah.
I guess we knew that was